It's the rivalry that every LSU fan loves to hate. Battle for the boot. We got a crossover episode with John Nabors of Locked on Razorbacks. Let's get it.
You are Locked on LSU, your daily podcast on the LSU Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Okay, let's get it. It is Locked on LSU and Locked on Razorback. He's over there. He's John Nabors. I'm Matt. We're glad to have you aboard with us. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. We are free, available wherever you get podcasts, of course, on YouTube as well. So please subscribe. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet. Get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com. John, my boy, how are you?
Man, I'm doing great. I am so excited to be able to talk about this game and this great college football rivalry that is everyone's favorite. I mean, I'm surprised College Game Day is not coming to this, man. This is truly what college football is about, the pageantry tradition of that Golden Boot trophy that both teams want so badly to keep in their trophy case.
John, do you think so? So you've done radio and media a long time, as have I, and you and I have talked about this game every year forever. They're the two media bases that I get asked to be a guest on the most are Alabama and Arkansas. Bar none, it's not close. And every year I get asked, "Oh, where does the Arkansas rivalry rank?" It's the same question every year. Like, am I ever going to stop getting asked that question?
Well, you got stopped by me, and if I do it, it's out of sarcasm and love. But I think it needs to be. Anybody who asks that question is either one, just completely and blissfully ignorant that it is not a rivalry, or two, they honestly, truly, it's like their first year in radio and are in media in Arkansas. Like, come on, man. I know that I like to joke with you. I grew up in Arkansas, grew up a Razorback fan, went to the U of A. I grew up in the SEC era. All of that. Arkansas and LSU, it's not a rival in the same sense that LSU Bama is, or even an LSU Florida. Most Razorback fans think to understand that, but still they just want to hate somebody, so they just pick whatever team that they hate the most.
But the thing, John, that I've always said about this game is, from an LSU perspective, it doesn't matter if you think it's a rivalry, if you care, any of that stuff. The bottom line is, this game means an awful lot to the dudes that wear red and white. And there's been a lot of bad Arkansas teams that have given LSU hell. That 2014 team, John, like, what were they on, like a 3-year SEC losing streak? And they shut LSU out. The last 3 years, all 3 games been decided by 3 points. Like, it's the reason it's so unsettling is you just know it's never going to be easy. Like, it's so perplexing because when you look at the number of 5 stars and 4 stars and history and everything, like, LSU's program is more on par with Bama and Florida and those, right? And that's not a knock. I'm just talking about statistical. Yeah. Like, LSU, look at the last half decade, Arkansas has not signed a single 5-star. LSU's got like 6 of them. That's what it is. But Bama's beaten Arkansas, like 17 straight? Is that right?
Yeah, since the Bush administration. Yeah.
Right? Like, but it just doesn't happen for LSU. Like, they just cannot shake. And that's why Saturday is terrifying for me from an LSU perspective. The spot so favors Arkansas.
Yeah, and I think that's why Razorback fans are maybe a little bit weary of it too, because it's like, this makes too much sense. It seems to line up too nicely for Arkansas, coming off of a bye week, it being a night game. LSU being a good team, but gettable, a beatable team in their mind. So, I think it lines up greatly like that. And just looking at the history of this, I agree. I think it's a game that Arkansas at times wanted more than LSU. And I think Razorback fans are also kind of being inexperienced with that, with the Arkansas-Missouri game at the end of the year, where Missouri's been good, and there's been times they've been better than Arkansas. I'm not saying they've never been, but Missouri's owned Arkansas over the past 10 years or so. In a lot of cases, it was bad Missouri teams beating a good to decent Arkansas team. So, I think it's just that way. And I think that it also is about timing of everything. Because I felt like, Matt, maybe you can correct me on this, I felt like there was a few of those games that Arkansas won where it was coming off of the Alabama game for LSU, so it was like
Yeah.
that weird spot where maybe they had an emotional letdown, or maybe they were so close, maybe that factored into it. But yeah, this has definitely been a game that LSU's won more often than not, but it's always been really close, weird, and very unexpected, the result many times.
Yeah, no, you're right, John. So that the Friday 1:30, the Friday after Thanksgiving 1:30 thing, people here always hated and resented, and it's just, but also like just from a player perspective, LSU's used to play night games. It throws your whole game day rhythm off to play a day earlier and at 1:30, and it was always a bother. And whenever the game got moved off of that Friday after Thanksgiving, I told Arkansas fans forever. I got family that we've talked about. I got a lot of family that lives in Arkansas. Like, as much as they wanted that game to be on that spot, it's like, you don't understand. Playing it the week after Bama is a massive advantage for Arkansas because LSU is going to get sky high, and win or lose, it's going to be a letdown. And here it is again, John. Like, last week was a vibe in Baton Rouge. And you've been here for enough games and know what it can be like when it's right. And that Ole Miss game was ripe. I mean, it was peak Tiger Stadium, fans rush the field, which I hate, but all that stuff. It's only natural, brother. Like, you are gonna have a letdown in this spot. So, man, look at Tennessee. When Tennessee went to Arkansas, they go have that huge win at Oklahoma, big spot, natural letdown spot, and they were ripe for the picking, man. Arkansas flat beat them. So, tell me, what's it like there this week, John? Like, compare Arkansas coming off the bye and just winning record. Dude, Arkansas probably should be undefeated right now. If they can protect the football, they're probably undefeated.
Yeah, and that's what Razorback fans are feeling right now, where they're sitting at 4-2. And I think if you told Razorback fans before the season started saying, hey, going into the bye week, you're going to be 4-2, everyone would sign up for that. But like you said, Razorback fans feel in their minds, they feel like they should be 6-0, at minimum of 5-1.
Yeah, Oklahoma State was inexcusable.
Yeah, you get 650 total offensive yards and 31 points. This can't happen. Just can't happen. But that's kind of the frustrating thing, where it's like Arkansas fans have felt like this is a good team and maybe a better team than what it has shown, but still they just find weird, crazy ways to lose games. At the A&M game, I'm glad that thing's finally out of Arlington. I'm so sick of it. I was tired of it, but that game was always close no matter what.
Yeah.
And Arkansas in that game, you mentioned it, if they don't fumble the ball close to their goal line there in the late second half or early third quarter, I should say, but they don't do that, they probably win. So the fact that Arkansas feels like
the KJ Jefferson play,
dude. That's why Hog fans hate that game. It's like, it's incredible. Like, Matt, I have never seen a game-winning field goal attempted where it hit the top of the upright and bounced up. Like, you could do that 100 times and not even do that. Like, it's insane.
Let me get the rule. Does it count if it hits the top of the upright? I need to check. I need a ruling on that.
Darn well should. I think Hog fans would feel. But
I kind of agree.
Yeah, but you're right. That's how it feels right now, is that Arkansas fans feel they're better than what is shown. And beating Tennessee, which was perfectly timed, because Arkansas honestly should have beat Tennessee pretty handedly. They had so many opportunities in that first half.
Well, Sam kept passing on field goals. It's like, bro, what are you doing?
Yeah. They should have been up 17-0 at halftime at minimum, but that they ended up winning the game and everything's good. So the Arkansas fans feel like, hey, they haven't won every game. They're 4-2, but they're capable of beating anybody. They're capable of it. And so LSU night game and coming off of a bye week, getting guys healthy, everything, whether it's true or not, whether it happens or not, Razorback fans are confident that they're going to win this game. They really are.
How healthy is Taylon Green, and can the LSU defense have a repeat performance of what they did against Ole Miss? We'll get into that as we continue Locked on LSU and Locked on Razorbacks crossover episode. Stay here. Love telling you about our friends over at FanDuel. NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet over at FanDuel.com. Tigers go into Fayetteville a 2.5-point road favorite. We talked about it a bit ago, man. The last 3 have been decided by 3 points. 2.5, I don't know. You want to lay that. But if you do, get over to FanDuel.com. Remember, go to FanDuel.com where you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's at FanDuel.com. FanDuel.com. All right, John, for me, the biggest storyline in the entire game is Taylor Green's health. We've talked about it a lot here this week. Brian Kelly on Monday said, look, for a straight line speed, he's the fastest they'll see all year. He's dynamic, 5 passing touchdowns, 4 rushing touchdowns, turns the ball over, which is a problem. But a knee injury that cost him the end of the Tennessee game. He got the bye week. I know what Sam Pittman said this week, that he's going to play, and I think we all expect him to play. But how close to 100% is he going to be? What do you expect?
Well, just given the circumstances, I can't believe that he's 100%. Like, there's just no way. He went out with they called it an MCL injury, and they, from the get-go, were confident that they'd get him back. But there's no doubt that the bye week came at the most opportune moment, and Arkansas needed it, not just for Talon, but for others. But Talon, I believe he will be healthy enough to play well. But I still don't think he's going to be as fast as he is at 100%. If you want to put a percentage on it, I'll go and say he's going to be at 80, 85%. Still can do some things with his legs, still can beat you, but still, because I don't care what anybody says, what we've seen from Taylor Green this year, he's done some really good things. But if he loses any sort of confidence in himself, in his offensive line, in the play calling, in his health, whatever, it really impacts him. And so to me, that's going to be the key, is if he doesn't feel confident that he can run like he has before or anything like that, it may impact him mentally. And that could be a huge benefit for LSU if that ends up being the case.
You know, man, it's interesting too, because I've been asked a lot about the LSU rush defense, which statistically is not good. What's odd about it is this isn't a defense, John, that's like given up consistently like 6 yards, 8 yards, 5 yards, 12 yards. Like, teams don't just go down the field running the football against LSU. They had a huge 4th and 1 stop at the 13-yard line against Ole Miss. The problem is they'll give up the 75-yarder to Lenora Sellers, the 66-yarder to Rocket Sanders. The kid Colin Guggenheim from Nichols had a 67-yarder on the second play of the second half. Last week against Ole Miss, man, Ulysses Bentley had a 50-yarder. And the crazy thing about that one, too, is Major Burns, who's playing the star position, fills the hole beautifully. Bentley stops, starts shifting to his right, finds a crease, gets north and south, and the other safety, Jordan Gilbert, is right there, but misses the tackle. It's a house call for 50 yards. Like, that's been the head-scratching thing, man. Like, that's the play that they just haven't been able to shake. They'll be so good, and then they just brain fart, and it's a house call. It's like, what, where, what, why? You know, and I think it's just it's a defense that's still learning itself and who it's where its strengths lie, and obviously where its weaknesses lie as well. That's one of the things I'll tell you, man, that with that running back and with Taylor Green, that's the thing that I worry about, John, from an LSU standpoint. It's not that look, Arkansas is going to get yards, brother. Like, they're going to go up, they're going to move the ball, they're going to gain yards. The thing that LSU has done exceptionally well defensively this year is havoc. Against Ole Miss, 6 sacks, 9 TFLs, 10 quarterback hits, 2 forced fumbles, 2 interceptions, 11 PBUs. Like, they're great at creating havoc. And they're opportunistic in that respect. So it's like, I expect Arkansas is going to get yards. Like, that all. Bobby Petrino is a great play caller. Everyone knows that. They got talent. They're going to go up and down the field. It's just, you get into that red zone, can you get 7? Or can LSU get a sack, knock you out of field goal range, hold you to 3? Like, that's been the key to this defense being much better than they were a year ago when they were literally the worst. I mean, who's that tight end kid from Arkansas last year? I mean,
Luke Has.
Yeah. Bro, Arkansas came to Baton Rouge and, like, couldn't walk and chew bubblegum offensively. And then LSU couldn't get a stop. This defense is a lot better than last year. They're a lot better. It doesn't take a lot to be better than what you were a year ago. but they're still going to give up yards and they're going to give up those chunk plays on the ground. It's just the key is, can they create havoc? That's been their ticket, man.
Yeah, and in fact, it's almost weird when I look at game notes and I see an LSU team at the middle point of the year ranking, oh my goodness, 14th in the
14th.
SEC in total defense. Like, that just doesn't seem possible. Doesn't seem right. But you mentioned it. Arkansas has had production. They've had numbers. They get yards. But the problem is getting any points out of it. We just mentioned the Tennessee game. How many? They were in Tennessee territory 5 times in the first half, Matt. 5, and they had 3 points at halftime.
Yeah, no, that's crazy.
That's just the stuff that can't happen. They rank dead last in red zone offense and red zone defense. Dead last is that. And the thing that scares Razorback fans, really should, is what you mentioned in causing havoc, because the worst offensive performance that Arkansas had this year was against Texas A&M, which they may actually be legit. I didn't think they would be, but their defensive front is really good.
Yeah.
And that's when things went really south for Taylor Green. But the difference is that they were also able to stop the run and stop Jaquindon Jackson. That's what's interesting about this, is that if they get pressure on Taylor Green, which to me is the key for LSU, they got to get pressure on Taylor Green. If they do, then wrecks him a little bit, mentally may not be there, may cause a problem. But if he can't stop Jaquindon Jackson, if he can't stop the RPO, if he can't stop, hey, it's 3rd and 15, and then Taylor Green just takes off running and he can't stop him, that's been something that's really helped Arkansas, because I see that, if you look at all the numbers, Arkansas's first in the SEC in third down conversion. Most of that, Matt, is because, hey, it's 3rd and 9, take off run and get a first down because of Taylor Green's athleticism. So, yeah, it's the havoc can cause problems for Taylor Green, but it doesn't mean anything if you cannot stop Jaquindon Jackson. And I'm saying this, I saw this dude in spring. I knew this dude was a beast. He just walked on the field. You're like, oh, yeah, yep, this is a dude. I make the joke, and it's a joke, folks, but it's like, I feel like he's one of those dudes that may have killed a man. Like, he just is so mean. Like, he's so aggressive, and he's 6'3", 235 pounds, and he loves contact. And now that's kind of been a problem. He's been banged up a little bit at times because he loves that contact. So you wish he didn't take that on so much. But that's the key ingredient for Arkansas's offense. It'll open up the passing game a little bit more. But if they get Jaquindon Jackson going, if Taylor Green is able to make the right reads and to be able to beat him with his legs, I think Arkansas is going to have the offensive success. But if LSU gets to him, because people still have nightmares of Harold Perkins a couple of years ago, which I know he's not playing, but if they have that type of game, that could be bad news for Arkansas.
If flip it over, what's the strength and weakness defensively for Arkansas?
Man, the defense has been incredible. I mean, just by Arkansas standards, at least. They lost all their linebackers from a year ago, and they replaced a couple of them. Xavier Sori was their biggest get, the former 5-star from Georgia. And Landon Jackson, a player that, of course, a lot of LSU fans know, he started off really rough. I shouldn't say rough. He didn't do anything, really. And he's really come along here lately. And to me, just their ability to stop the run and to be able to throw different blitzes at quarterbacks where they may not always get to them, but it at least makes them get into a pressure situation, maybe make some bad throws. That's their strength. But it's been very impressive. But I'll also say this too, and this is going to be interesting, Matt. This is going to be the best quarterback Arkansas's faced all year. They faced backup quarterbacks with Auburn and with Texas A&M. Last week, and even against Tennessee, I think there's a little bit got figured out about him with Nico. So I think this is the best offense, the best quarterback Arkansas's faced, and that's going to be big. But I think if LSU is going to have success, it's going to be if you get protection for Nussmeier, which they will because they're one of the best teams as far as getting up sacks. I think if they are able to just sit back and Nuss be able to make throws, it's going to be easy peasy for LSU to carve them up. But
it's never easy peasy in this game, John.
I trust me. I know. I can't wait for it to end 9-6. It's going to be a 3-point game, dude. It's going to happen.
You said like the key, how good Arkansas is stopping the run. LSU can't run the ball. As weird as it is to say that they can't run the ball. And Nussmeier won't run the ball, which is, I mean, they've got to get him. They've got to get him to be willing. When you see too high safety and every defensive back has their back to the line of scrimmage, just go get 10 yards and move the chains and reset. But he just won't do it.
Man, are we sure we're talking about LSU here? Like a team that can't run the ball and not play very good defense? That's
so
wild.
Weird, dude. It's a complete inverse of what this program was for 15 years. But it's interesting because even though they can't run the ball, the offense has been so efficient because Nussmeier's been great, and the offensive line does not give up pressures. And I'll say it this way: I know Arkansas has got Landon Jackson, they got a good front seven, but every game that LSU has played, South Carolina last week against Ole Miss, who led the country in sacks and TFLs, they did not sack Garrett Nussmeier. It's not a thing where I'm looking at a 5 or 6 game sample size. Like, these guys have done it for 3 years, and it's a good on good matchup. And I'm not saying they'll never get beat, but if you beat them, hat tip because you earned it. But like, literally, the team that led the country in sacks and TFLs didn't get a single sack last week. So I'm betting they're going to keep Nussmeier upright. He's going to throw it. And I don't think Arkansas' secondary is very good. I think that's a problem. But LSU's not going to be balanced, bro. Like, they're not even going to attempt balance because it's not what they are. Nuss is going to throw it 45 times in this game. And if he completes 70% of his passes, LSU is going to go put up 400 yards and a lot of points. And that might be their path to victory. But I don't know, man. It's just it never goes how we think it's going to go in this game. Hey, real quick before we get to our final break, and then bigger picture perspective. Special teams, if it comes down to a kick, 42-yarder, game on the line, left hash, how confident are you makes it?
Not confident at all, because Arkansas' starting kicker is out for a few weeks. Now, he wasn't even that great. Kyle Ramsey is his name. He was fine. He had some, but he missed way too many. And this kid Shipley was a transfer who was a Lou Groza Award finalist last year, but they didn't give him the starting spot. So I've never seen this guy kick a field goal. So just basing it off of logic, I would not be very confident in Arkansas special teams.
Damian Ramos is LSU's kicker. He's been really good over 3 years. He missed one last week, but quite honestly, it wasn't his fault. It was a bad snap, threw off the whole rhythm of the kick, but he's been really good. If it comes to a kick, I think LSU feels pretty good about it. So, and given the nature of the series, I wouldn't be surprised at all if it comes down to a kick. Okay, final break, come back, and John and I will talk about the big picture of both teams. What would a win or a loss mean for LSU and Arkansas? It is a crossover episode of Locked on LSU and Locked on Razorbacks. Today's episode is brought to you by HIMSHims. Guys, sometimes intimate moments happen spontaneously. You want to be ready so you can perform. HIMSHims provides access to treatments that can help you stay hard and last longer, giving you the boost of confidence so you can be ready whenever the mood strikes. HIMSHims is changing men's healthcare by providing you with access to affordable sexual health treatments from the comfort of your couch. HIMSHims provides access to a range of doctor-trusted ED treatments like chewable hard mints and Viagra and Cialis and their generics for up to 95% cheaper. The process is 100% online, so there's no need for uncomfortable doctor visits. Just answer a series of questions on their site. A medical provider will determine the right treatment option. If prescribed, your medication ships directly to you in discreet packaging for free. No insurance is needed. One low price covers everything from treatments to ongoing care. With hundreds of thousands of trusted subscribers, HIMSHims can help you find the ED option that works for you. So start your free online visit today at HIMSS.com/locked-on. That's HIMS.com/locked-on for your personalized ED treatment options. HIMS.com/locked-on. Products mentioned are chewable compounded products, which are not approved by or verified for safety or effectiveness by the FDA. Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan. You're welcome, John. What would a win in this game mean for Arkansas?
Everything. Because listen, Arkansas, they're sitting at 4-2. They're not in the top 25. But to have another night game, because I'm telling you right now, Matt, this atmosphere, it's not going to be Death Valley. I'm not arguing that. But it's going to be about as of electric of an atmosphere as you could have in Razorback Stadium, because it's a night game. Again, coming off a big game against Tennessee and a big win, another top 10 team coming in, and it's LSU. The atmosphere is going to be electric. And so for Arkansas to follow up a top 5 victory with another top 10 victory, and to be sitting where they go to Mississippi State the next week and then have Ole Miss at home, which I'm not saying they're wins, but they're winnable games. and then the bye week, and then you have the mighty Texas Longhorns coming to town. Razorback fans start on it'll be a joke, but they'll start saying, the path to the college football playoff is there. Like they will start doing it. So it would just mean everything to feel like, hey, that wasn't just a fluky game against an overrated team against Tennessee. It would be like, okay, this is actually legitimate. This is actually real. You went out and you beat LSU. This could be actually a really special season for the Hogs. So I think it'd be massive.
Flip it. What if they lose?
If they lose, it takes all of the wind out of their sails. And suddenly here on Locked On Razorbacks, we're going to start having to talk about people saying, is Sam Pittman the guy? That's
really,
that's how crazy it is, man. And it's I know Razorback fans, that's how they are, whether they're right or wrong, but it's because, hey, it's year 5 and it's the way they've been losing games, I think, is what's really bothered people. Because if Arkansas loses the game against LSU in the same way they lost against Oklahoma State or A&M, where they play well enough, they do a lot of good things, but they just kill themselves and they lose in a close game or maybe a bad decisions made, then people are going to be like, okay, you're good enough to be there. You're good enough to get on the field. You're good enough to compete. But what's the thing you point to when you have these close losses? Well, you point to coaching. I believe the stat is right now, Matt, just real quick, I believe Sam Pittman has lost 11 of his last 13 one-possession games. And that's just not a recipe for people feeling confident in the coach moving forward.
See, at some point, like, you are what your record says you are. That's not only, for Sam Pittman in that statistic, but also with a team in a given season. You can be close, but if you keep losing close games, you're just a team that's good. You're just not good enough to win those close games. I'm not saying that's the case for Arkansas. I think all that's to be determined. I didn't think very highly of this Arkansas team coming into the season. I don't know that many people did, but they've been impressive, which is one of the reasons I think this is spooky, because it's not just a game where you're going to play Arkansas and it'll be a frenzied crowd, and if you let the underdog stay in it, they can win it. I just think Arkansas is good enough to win it. They've been very good. Their scoring defense, in particular in SEC play, has been super impressive. But I also watched the game against Oklahoma State, and I was like, well, that happened too. So is there any of that sort of layered in? For LSU, on the same vein there, John, if LSU's got to win this game, because the way that everyone's looking at LSU right now is you hit the halfway point at 5-1, and by beating Ole Miss, you essentially bought yourself a game to say, all right, in the second half, if you go 5-1. You're 10-2, and that 10-2 probably looks good enough to make the playoff. I don't know that that's a guarantee. I'm not one of those that subscribes to the belief that 10-2 is getting you in from the SEC. We talked about that in media days. But LSU's 10-2 probably looks good enough. But brother, if you lose this game, then you have to go to A&M, where you want to talk about a situation that doesn't favor you. That's 3 consecutive conference games, back-to-back road conference games, which is never easy. We just talked about A&M defensively, who I think are very good. LSU hasn't won at Kyle Field since 2016. Like, now all of a sudden you start to go, well, then you got to somehow you got to win that game. You get a bye, then you got to beat Bama. Then you got to go to Florida, which I know Florida's got their struggles, but going to Gainesville the week after Bama is not easy. And you're home against Vanderbilt, which is Vanderbilt good? Kinda.
Yeah.
Better than Vanderbilt, is. And then you wrap up with Oklahoma, which I don't know what they are, what they'll be by the time they come to Baton Rouge. But the point is, there's landmines everywhere. Like, this is one, like, if LSU goes and loses this game in Fayetteville, they undo all the good they did last week by beating Ole Miss. So this is one where you got to go start fast if you're LSU, and you've got to take the crowd out of that game. And the problem, John, is LSU doesn't start fast. They played UCLA in Baton Rouge. That was a terrible UCLA team. That game was tied at the half. And then LSU blitzed them in the second half. I think UCLA had like 84 yards in the second half. But this is one of those ones, man, where you don't let them hang around, man. If LSU can find a way to do something they haven't done all year, which is start fast, this would be the time to do it, to not allow the upset-minded team to get going. But man, you realize the only time, I was looking this up earlier this week, man, there's been like 2 times since Arkansas came in the league that LSU went to either Fayetteville or Little Rock and just won comfortably. 2016 was like 38-10. Was it 16 or that was 16? That was when Ed was the interim. 16, and then I want to say like 94. LSU won comfortably, or 96. Now I want to look it up because now I'm trying to spitball. I don't know, John. I'm old enough that I do remember this sort of stuff. Let's see. It was 90. Here it was. It was 94. 30 to LSU won in Arkansas in Little Rock 30-12. So like that's it, brother. Every other game in this series up there is just, I don't know. I'm betting on a close game, no doubt.
Well, it's weird because this game used to be in Little Rock whenever it was the home team for Arkansas, but now Arkansas's only beaten LSU in Fayetteville once since that game moved. 2014.
Yeah.
And so you're talking about 10 years ago was when the last time it happened. But you're right. This game is always close. And if there's a guarantee that I can give to each and every one of your Locked On LSU listeners out there, there's this one guarantee. If Arkansas has a lead, say in the fourth quarter, late in the game or whatever, I guarantee you LSU is going to be in a position to win the game where they're going to have the ball in their hands. There's going to be 2, 3, 4 minutes left. They are going to have a chance. It's a matter of will they come through in the clutch and will they do it? That's the type of game I think this is going to be, where whoever has the ball last, and most often it seems like it's the opposing team for Arkansas, but whoever has the ball last, they're going to be in a position to win the game. It's just a matter of, do they come through in the clutch or does the other team hold firm? I think no matter what, I think bet the under in this game, but I also think I don't know which way to lean, but just make sure that you know that this is not going to be a blowout game where you can leave in the fourth quarter. I feel like that's going to be a great game, great matchup, and hopefully it's one that is at least entertaining, but it'll be close no matter what.
So because we think it's going to be close, that means LSU is going to go in there and win 56-10. That's just the nature of the series. It probably will happen. You'll make a pick on your show tomorrow?
Yeah. Well, actually, if I don't mind doing a teaser, I know I do this for every team, folks, but tomorrow's podcast is going to be why I hate LSU.
Okay.
So I do it for every SEC opponent.
Can you give me a little tease?
Yeah, I can give you a little bit of a tease. I would say I don't want to give you the number one reason because I want to save that one for the podcast.
Sure.
But why I hate LSU is because they want to be different from everybody else and wear white uniforms as their home team uniform. Why? Why do you got to be like that?
They're wearing all white against Arkansas Saturday.
Well, Arkansas is wearing all red.
Oh,
so,
God. This is going to be the most hideous uniform matchup ever.
Dude, this is another thing, too. Arkansas is the only team. This is why I'm never taking them seriously. They don't there's so many shades of red that the fans will wear. It's a terrible thing. They can't figure out what the red is, and they just license all the apparel for every color of red. So I'm serious. All you LSU fans, watch the game, and when they show crowd shots, you'll see it. Everyone's wearing different shades of red, from the Texas A&M type color to Georgia.
So
it's embarrassing. So red out versus white out, and who cares? It's going to be crazy.
Always fun, John. Thanks for the time, man.
Anytime, man. Appreciate it.
All right. He's John Nabors, Locked On Razorbacks. I'm Matt Moscona, Locked On LSU. Thanks for making us your first listen. Please subscribe if you haven't done that yet. Rate us, leave a review. If you're on YouTube, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you're notified whenever we post a new video. And be sure to let a friend know if they love the Razorbacks or the Tigers. Be sure you're locked in here to Locked On Arkansas, Locked On Razorbacks, or Locked On LSU, your team every day.